started, Stace. So Gabby did her first event last night. So everybody, kudos to Gabby. Tell us how it felt.
It felt awesome. Okay, I was really nervous. But what's funny is beforehand, all day, I was sitting here doing the presentation like 20 times. My dog was passed out on the couch, like, okay, mom, you did this so many times already. I went over it before I did it. And then when I was on, I was less nervous because I've already done it for myself so many times. So then I did it and I was still nervous because there were actual people on, but and I haven't done a presentation. Like I'm pretty outgoing. Like I like to talk in front of people, but I haven't done a presentation like that since probably my school days. So it was a little nerve wracking, but I texted Sharon afterwards. I'm on presentation high. So afterwards,
Oh, you know, I can never sleep afterward.
it was fun.
Like that was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, awesome.
Yeah.
She just kept practicing and practicing, and that's how I had to do it. You know, I didn't want to do the presentation many, many years ago. I told Julie if I had to do a presentation, I'd just soon quit. Oh, no, I'm the opposite. So then I felt like, okay, that was stupid for me to say that. And my person who was under me was doing the presentations and doing them for me. So there became a moment where I just had to suck it up, right?
Yeah.
And that moment actually was with Stacey Turner, where she's like, "Sure, Sharon, do the presentation with my people," and I'm like, "You trust me to do this with your people? I've never even done it." But it worked out. We did like 6 before she moved on me, which is unbelievable. But anyway, Stacey's now a national marketing director. Is it IMD, International Marketing Director? Okay, so just one step away from presidential, and she's cranking. She's doing really good. She's got new team members. People love to hear her training. So I'm glad you guys are on here. I think you have some new people on here, Stacey. You've been bringing new people on. Do you want to introduce them?
Yeah, let's see who's in here. I think these are all your people.
Okay, I haven't met Paula or Shannon yet. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure who iPhone is.
I'm not sure either.
Shannon.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm with Christy.
I'm sorry.
I'm with Christy.
Oh, Christy Barnes? Okay.
No, Christy.
Flamer?
Yes, thank you.
And Ethne Defoe.
Mine with blank.
It's Christy Claimer, Ethne Defoe, and
Yes.
Jamie Memory and Melissa.
All right. Great. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our larger team. I think under. Okay. Well,
Hey, Sharon,
today, yes.
if you're host, could you stream into Team Transformers? I'm not sure my experiment's going to work.
Remember, it doesn't work. I mean, I can try, but Facebook or Zoom has messed me up.
Okay, I'll try. Okay, I'll use OBS. No worries.
Okay, good.
I can do it.
So, Stacey, just hold your horses on your talk.
Hold the horses there, sister.
Till Doug does.
I got him.
Thing. You got your horses? All right.
Got him.
Renee. Oh, Renee Babinek. I'm guessing Renee Babinek. Renee O'Neill. Which Renee? iPhone is Renee. I don't know Renee yet. Which Renee? Welcome. This is not a ghost Zoom. We are interactive. This is Babinek. Yay. I thought you were at work, Renee. Okay, she's probably keeping it on the down low. We're glad you're here, Renee. Awesome. So this Zoom is for you. We're going to have Stacey share her, oh, she's at work speaking. Okay, we do support that. Thank you very much for coming on. We won't tell anyone. We don't even know who you work for. Okay, so anybody have any comments or questions before the magical Stacey starts sharing? Let's go ahead and talk about any questions. Maybe you had a bad conversation you want to talk about. Maybe you had a good conversation you want to talk about, or you just have a question. You can unmute yourself. You guys just we came for the show. All right, I get it. I get it. So let's talk to Michelle Fletcher. What's happening in your world? What's got you excited?
I'm just here snacking for lunch. I'm hungry. Um, we did a business event yesterday. I did it with Nalani. That went really well. Tomorrow I have an event with 2 people that got excited after watching the tax video by now they put an event on the board. So we have an event scheduled for them tomorrow. And I'm doing my first trade show in over a year, in-person trade show on Saturday with Joy and Alicia. So that's exciting because it's been a long time since I've gotten face-to-face and had a table at an event. So we're excited about that.
Is that Earth Day? What is that?
No, they canceled. Well, Earth Day is no longer like how it was, just a drive-through. This is a different event happening in Lake Worth in Palm Beach.
Awesome. Go where the people are. Good job. Great to see you, Darby, Nicole Medina, Alicia, Karen, Susan, Brittany, Gwen. Saw you on the Blitz. Doug, you got your OBS happening yet?
Yeah, and I got some things I'm excited about. So I want to tell you, first of all, that Saturday, I think Earth Days might be Thursday or something, Earth Day. But there's a Tower Garden Earth Day event that you may have heard. I mean, there's so much stuff going on, I know. But I am looking for some people to share with me on Saturday in the Earth Day Facebook event. So I would appreciate it if anybody can make it easy on me. I know who you Tower Gardeners are. If not, I'll come chase you down. But it'll be fun. We just go live. We talk about our towers a little bit, and it'll be good. I mean, if you're not in that event yet, scroll through Team Transformers. Join the Earth Day Tower Garden edition. The posts that are in there already are really incredible. Like I'm nervous. I mean, I don't know why they put me on the last day. Like people think I know what I'm doing or something. I mean, you should see what's going on there. It's crazy. The next thing is the Juice Plus the men's group is kind of rolling. We got a Voxer chat going, some sidelines in there. So if you got any guys on your team or have a husband that's kind of like involved, I definitely want people that are involved, not just like hopeful people like, oh, if I put them in there, maybe Doug will turn them. No, it's not for turning. It's for interested. And then finally, I have a few people I'm coaching that we're going to be going through GoPro. So I went ahead because I'm going to do it with the guys too. So I made an event. The GoPro will be at a relaxed pace, like 3 or 4 chapters a week. And then on Sundays, we'll have like a discussion Facebook Live, which if it doesn't fit your schedule, that's cool. You don't have to go to that part. I'm going to make those into podcasts anyway. And we'll just discuss GoPro and like how it applies to our business. Might have some special guests. Julie Herbst has expressed interest in talking on that. So that'll be pretty cool. So that's it. We got men, GoPro, and what was the other thing? Earth Day. And we're live on Facebook, Sharon, I think.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So Doug has a GoPro group if you want to be in that, if you want to show your tower for Earth Day, and if you have a spouse or a man on your team who is active, wants to move forward, wants to, be in the community. That's awesome. Okay, so today we have a wonderful treat. Stacey Turner, International Marketing Director, is going to share with us how to capture conversations. We have conversations all day, right? But how do we capture them? How do we think of next steps for people? How do we get them engaged with us? That's her specialty. She's doing so good. She's always doing good. She's just a wonderful leader. And so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to her because I could go ahead and go on, but I'll give her that time. You go for it, Stacey May.
Hey, thanks, Sharon. I appreciate everyone coming on to here, and I just want to chat with you guys some too, so you can put in the chat groups, or if you want to interrupt me and stop me, feel free to ask questions. but we were just talking today about capturing conversations, and that title came from Sharon at one point in one of our conversations we were having. I was asking her some questions and she said that phrase, and I thought, that's a really good way to put it, to where it's not just the idea of talking to people, but how do you actually take a conversation and then move it in the direction of Juice Plus, and then move it into the direction of a customer, then a customer that is having a good experience, and then a customer that wants to have, share it with others, or even somebody who you just barely shared Juice Plus with, and then the conversation moves to, hey, you could do this with me. Would you be interested in joining in? Right. And so how do we capture that to where we actually get results? Because none of us want to just spin our wheels and talk to people. And that was something I found myself doing at the very beginning. I was talking to people about Juice Plus. I was passing around the cassette tape that I had, and I was having conversations, but they weren't moving anywhere. And I remember about 3 weeks in, I thought, I don't want to waste my time with this, right? Like, I want to be productive and I want to help people. The only way that I'm really going to be able to help them is if they actually get started on Juice Plus. They've got to get the fruits and veggies into their body. So how do I take them from, just an interest to actually getting them to the place where they're ready to order? And so this is definitely a skill set that you learn, and we have some great tools now that will help us, do that faster, I think, with newer team members, versus just kind of stumbling through conversations and they go bad and they just like wasn't what you thought. And yet sometimes I still have those conversations. And so just think about, a failure conversation, if you will. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. If they really are looking for this, they'll override what you're saying, and it applies to them, and they will want this. But there's definitely a way that you can hinder the conversation or block the flow of the conversation from moving forward if it's just done untactfully, or if it's, is that even a word? Or if it's feels aggressive to them, or if it's really not in their best interest, but it's only in your interest that the conversation is even being had in the first place. So I just want to kind of take us through a couple of ideas. The idea of connecting with other people, then we're going to take that connection to a customer or a connection to a team member, and then moving both of those, either a customer or a team member, forward with their belief and their confidence. Okay, so let's just start with connecting with others. So there's got to be a way that you're talking to people, that you're bringing new people into your circle. If you're brand new, that's everybody you know, right? Like, you could talk to anyone you've had from your past, anyone in your family, anyone that you work with, anyone in your neighborhood, all of your friends. You can, start conversations on Facebook. It's wide open for you. So you want to do it well from the beginning, so you don't push any of those people away. And for those of you that have been with Juice Plus for a while, you may feel like, I don't know who else to talk to, right? Like, I feel like I've talked to everyone I know. My family knows I do this. My neighbors have been invited to events. I've got, my Facebook friends, I post about my health and wellness, and just, you just wonder, where's this going to come about? Where are these new conversations going to happen? And so I want to give you some ideas that I have found to be helpful as I've moved across the country multiple times, and, kind of started over in new cities, of how do I meet people? And then how do you use social media in a way that actually brings people into the conversation? And part of the thing with social media is just being consistent, posting whatever you're going to post about. Pick 5 things in your life that you're passionate about and post about those 5 things consistently. And you show up in people's news feeds, and they're going to see your information. A couple of tricks to kind of skip the algorithms with Facebook is, if you go in and comment and like on other people's, or actually it's the heart button and heart button and comment on other people's posts before you post, that kind of wakes up the algorithms, and it helps Facebook see that you're relevant in conversation, that you engage in conversation, and that then your posts are more likely to be seen. So the second thing I would say about posting online is, never post the link in the actual comments that you put on your post. Just say link is in comments, because if it's anything that takes a Facebook user out of Facebook to, say, a different platform like YouTube or a different website, Facebook doesn't want them off of Facebook. Facebook makes money off of people being on Facebook. And so they are going to keep that post from being seen. It kind of suppresses it. So don't put the link in the actual comment that you're making, just put it as a comment and just say link and comment. So those two things will really help it too. And that will also help you from getting blocked. If you have anything that Facebook doesn't like, it won't see it as it doesn't pick it up. So you can get away with a lot more that way. I've learned that lately. So that's a couple of things with Facebook to just wake that up. And I'm sure it's somewhat similar to Instagram or some of the other platforms where they just want to see that you're active and you're engaging in conversation, and then more of your friends will see it. So it's kind of the same way in real life, right? Like if we're not actively in conversation with people and out and about, if we stay behind our computer and we're not connecting with people, it's going to be really difficult to find people to share your Juice Plus experience with. And so I'm just going to kind of give you some ideas of things that I have found to be helpful. So you can, let's see, really get involved in your community. That's an easy one. Find something that you're passionate about that's already involved and active in your community, and then get involved with it. So don't just show up to the meetings, ask to help and volunteer to be a part of the solution, whatever they're working on. I like to volunteer our home, like, hey, we can meet here at my house if we need to. Just in some way be active in actually participating in helping to run it, or volunteering to make coffee, whatever it is. Like, get involved in that versus just attending the group. And what that does is it just gives you a chance to be in conversation with someone who now already sees you as a help and not just someone who's taking from the group. So you're somebody who's adding into every conversation, every event and thing that you're a part of. The point is to add to it. How can your presence be a benefit to them, not just because you show up, but because you're helpful to them? That opens their heart and their mind to like just be glad that you're there, and then that can lead to conversations later on, right? So it's a heart decision at the beginning to be involved in and to be a helper, and not just to take from whatever group you're going to be a part of. I can tell you that that's a slower process, and you may not think that that's a big deal, but when people start to see you as somebody who's involved and an influencer, somebody who's helpful, I can tell you that makes a huge big difference in the conversations that are going to happen later on. So this is just kind of sort of planting some of those seeds so that you can have those conversations and that they will be more productive. Another thing is when you're out and about, make your conversations positive. If you're always talking negative about things or complaining, it just shuts down, it builds walls, and people aren't going to be as engaged in wanting to have conversations with you later on. So getting out there, being a part of the community, volunteering somewhere that brings you joy. You don't do it because like, I'm going to volunteer here so I get customers, but you volunteer there because you love it, and it's naturally going to lead to conversations with the people you're volunteering with if the conversations are set up well. Let's see, you can start conversations with people in your everyday life, just being very observant as we're learning this ditch the pitch. That first one is the think input before output, and it's during conversations, be alert and present in the moment so that you can gather information about them. It's asking questions, finding out what their needs are. To give you an example, the other day we were selling a house, and I was talking with the new owners. It was the first time we met them, and I know like I'm gonna have to be intentional about taking this conversation to Juice Plus, right? Like it never happened naturally, or nobody brought up health. They didn't ask me, so Stacey, what do you do? That just never happened. A lot of times that will come into place, especially if I add in something about, Jarrett and I both own our own businesses, like just casually in the conversation somewhere, I'll add that in. They'll usually ask what he does, and then they'll ask what I do, and I can explain. But like that never happened. It never came through. But I did notice that the wife had on a pouch that had a like a breathing treatment for asthma. I can't think of what it's called. the steroid, whatever that is, the breather. And so I just said, I'm just curious. And this was at the end of the day, like we had spent a couple of hours together. And I said, I'm just curious, who has asthma? Who is that for? And she said, oh, that's for me. And he said, yeah, it's for her. And I said, oh no, how long have you had asthma? How long has that been an issue? And she's like, oh, from the time I was little. And, it's such a pain. I have to take it with me because I just never know when this attack will happen. And I was like, oh gosh, that's gotta be such a pain. So I just like leaned into that conversation, felt the pain, let her talk, asked her some more questions to explore. And I said, I would really love to help you. That's what I do. I help people simplify their nutrition and help support their bodies to heal and repair. All of the medication is just going to suppress the issue. But if you're really looking to heal your body and heal this, then I would love to share with you more about that. And she was like, yes. And her husband says, absolutely. I'm so tired of these emergency room visits or whatever. So I said, okay. And I just told her some basics of what Juice Plus is and that their daughter would get it, her gummies for free. I didn't go into a presentation about Juice Plus, right? Like that's not what they were there for. They were about to leave. It would have been, it just wouldn't have been courteous of me to go into this full Juice Plus explanation. And I just said, okay, I'm going to send you some of my favorite videos. Will you guys watch them together? I know what you're about to move, so let's just be patient with each other during this process and we'll reconnect. Okay. And they said, yeah, that's great. So then I sent the videos to them. So you just never know, like, who's going to walk into your life, but you have to be observant of that. Another one that was interesting is somebody sent me a message asking about our house and if it was for sale or if it was still available. And so through the texting back, like I said, oh, we're under contract and we're hoping to close in a couple of days. And so she said, oh, I will definitely be praying for some catastrophic event for the buyer so that it falls through, ha ha ha. And I was like, that is funny. I've been there, like, I really want that house. So I was like, oh, I totally can understand. So then she kept going and she said, oh, we've been looking for a house. So I was like, okay, this person likes to have a conversation. So if she's going to have a conversation, I'm going to have a conversation with her. I don't know her. She lives in Colorado somewhere. I still don't even know her name, but we went back and forth and I asked her like how long they've been looking, where are they moving from, told her where we're at. We just had a conversation like we were friends. Like I thought I would love to talk with this lady and learn more about her. She said she was a therapist and worked with girls that had been in trauma and mostly kids that had been in trauma. And so it just led to some other connections that I was just gathering information from her. And then she said, let's see. She said what she did. And I said, that's incredible work. And that makes such a difference, but I can only imagine how taxing that is on you, right? I'm trying to move it to what's her pain point? What is the point that I can bring Juice Plus in as a possible solution for her? And then I had said in the conversation, Jarrett and I both have our own business. She had asked what his business was. And then she said, what exactly do you do? And so, I said that I work with anyone and everyone that wants to get more plant foods into their daily diet. Our health journey started 18 years ago, and I'm so thankful for the simple solution that we found. And then she recommended a book about health. And then she asked, do you work remotely? What do you charge for sessions? And so I was able to move the conversation forward. Now, I thought that this would work and it didn't, but I can swing it back around. I just said, I would love to explore something with you that I've been seeing a lot lately, the role that trauma plays on gut health and how they are connected through the brain. Would you be open to a phone call or a Zoom? So I thought, okay, if I take it back to something that's of high interest to her and I just want to talk it through. And she said, sounds like a fascinating adventure, but my plate is full right now. I just don't have time for that. And so I said, no problem, no rush. We can do that once you guys get settled. And then I asked her if she was interested in in chatting about her own health needs. She didn't reply to that one. So I can start making up a lot of things in my head, right? Like, oh, I didn't say that right. Or she's not interested. She probably just got distracted and busy. My next thing is I'll just ask her, hey, I'm going to be doing some online events, and I know that you're super busy, but it might work out for you. Do you want me to keep you on my list and let you know when these next events are going to be happening? And she'll say yes to that, because that's very easy. And I'm going to say, oh yeah, by the way, what's your name? And actually introduce ourselves, right? So that conversation, I wouldn't have ever taken it to that had I not started engaging back in the conversation with her. So if someone's willing to talk to you, be willing to talk to them, but don't talk about you, talk about them. And that is really key. It's got to be all about them. So those are just two just recently conversations that I've had that I have found kind of how to take it to that place. But then also, anytime you can put yourself out there, like at a craft fair, a health fair, some sort of fitness expo, a school function, especially if it's something that's going to be repeated, where you will see people often, or see people that you actually know, like at a school function where you can call somebody over that you're like, hey, Susan. And then she's like, oh, hey, Stacey, what are you doing here? Or whatever. And then they come over and talk to you, or that you'll see year after year, like at a fair or something like that. So, do business with people who do business with you. So if I have somebody that's a plumber that comes over, or the pool guy, or I don't know, whatever it is, you can just ask questions of them. And before they leave, like if it never gets to that, because you don't want to be a pest that you're just like in there talking and like, what you doing? How you doing that? How long have you been a plumber? Like they're trying to work, right? But if it doesn't ever get to that, I just like to say, you know what, I love doing business with people in my area, and I'm really thankful that you came in. And I have no idea if this is something you're interested in or not, but I would love to share a way with you that our family found a really simple way to get fruits and veggies into our diet. I know that's a difficult thing for a lot of people, and especially someone like you, that you're in different places and you're traveling a lot. It's hard to eat right. And I just thought you might be interested. So it usually goes to, yeah, I eat terrible, especially if they're guys, they're not eating even close to enough fruits and veggies. And so that just starts the conversation. So toss curiosity statements into your introduction, such as, I work from home, I own my own business, I help people with their nutritional needs. I like to say I help busy people simplify their nutrition. When people ask me what I do, it's so vague, but kind of like, well, how? Like, what do you do? How do you do that? If it's of something of interest to them, they may come back to you with that. Like, the other day when I met you, you said this, like, what does that look like? But I don't say I sell Juice Plus. But I want to build curiosity to where they're asking me, what do I do? And then that often leads to that conversation. But you've got to be out in the community. So if you're not going to be out in the community, you can still use these same principles if you're going to be doing things on social media. And you can join different Facebook groups. You can start different Facebook groups that are of interest to you, right? So let's say, I don't know, you are in the midst of nursing baby. So then you can look for nursing groups on Facebook and friend some of the mamas in there. Obviously, you're not going to post in that group. That's not going to work. And you don't want to just take conversations off the side and say like, hey, my name is Stacey and I wanted to tell you about Juice Plus. Like, that's not going to work either. You're going to have to build in those conversations, but add value to the group, add information that's important to other people, see that you're like a part of the group and you're adding information that's and content that's relevant to them. And then a lot of times little side conversations will start if you friend them and then they see what's on your wall, that you have health information and nutrition info, then they may send you a message and say, hey, what is this that you've got those little capsules? And then that can start the conversation. And I find that that's helpful. If you start the group, then it's your group and you can decide what gets posted in there, and you're the boss of the group. And so you can take people out that you don't like what they're posting, or you kind of get to control the message that's being put in there. It doesn't have to be about health. It really can be about anything. It's just about collecting people that are like-minded or have similar passion or interest to something that you have. month. So I will pause there and see if you guys have any questions for me or examples or information you want to share about connecting with others.
This is great, Stacey. I do actually have a scenario that just happened yesterday that I'd like to run by you. And it's kind of like making the decision of when.
You're muted.
I muted myself. Oh, weird. So do you hear me at all?
You said something about a conversation that happened yesterday and you're sort of, and then that went out.
So I had a call yesterday, and my point or my question is more, when do we make it conversational versus when do you make it all about sharing about the business? So the connection was an old acquaintance who moved to Hawaii, and I started small talk with her, very conversational, like, how's Hawaii? Have you found work? How are things going with your transition, etc. And it went through a couple of weeks of kind of like just back and forth with this person just to establish a relationship. So that part I knew to start it off conversational. But then yesterday, she finally agreed to get on the phone with me. She's like, yes, I'm ready to sign up now. And she had mentioned that she's kind of interested in doTERRA and Juice Plus. I didn't shut down doTERRA. I was kind of like, that's great. It's all about wellness. So I can see them very complementing each other. But I felt like I gave her an earful about everything about Juice Plus, because I know the time difference is very challenging for us to connect on the phone. And I knew that she wanted to learn a little bit about the business. I hung up that call feeling like I didn't give her any chance to really, I'm on the, sorry, my daughter decides to talk. Look, I'm on the camera. I didn't feel like I gave her an opportunity to tell me more about why she wanted to join. And so I hung up that call being like, oh, well, she said, I'm going to call you in 30 minutes to give you my card information to join. But then an hour and a half later said, well, I kind of want to run this through my husband, make sure he understands it's not like kind of a pyramid scheme, blah, 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 blah. And I'll get back to you. And then I've been like in my brain, like I must have talked to, like I said too much. I don't know what I did. It was going great. She was going to give me her card when she got home. And now all of a sudden she's backing out. So what would you have done in that scenario?
Well, I think probably because we've been learning a little bit more about the Ditch the Pitch program, right? As Sharon has shared stuff with us, we start to pick up on times where the conversation didn't go so well. And then we know like, that's what it was. So partly you said you feel like you spoke too much, not asking enough questions. And think of like, definitely it was great that you got her on the phone. That is huge. The faster we can get people actually on the phone, the better results we're going to have. And so talking in small increments, like in a paragraph at a time, and then stopping and letting them respond is really important. But asking questions at the beginning, even what would she want to get out of this, right? So you're feeling like she wants to know more about Juice Plus, where she really may have been wanting to know a little bit stronger about the business. And then you can gauge that your conversation based off of what information she's looking for. And that has to be from, asking questions at the beginning to find out what their need is. So that's the only thing. But again, you said like you got in your head, you got to get out of your head and just give a next step. So I like to have somebody watch a video before we get on the phone. So I don't feel like I have to present Juice Plus, if at all possible, if they can watch a video, but then like let the video do the talking. You're just backing it up and relating and weaving it back into what is of their interest, whether that's product or the business. And so I would just say, don't overestimate or, don't talk yourself out of what happened yesterday. You don't know what information she took in. and what information she was going to share with her husband. But this is just your chance to revisit that. So we got some really good videos today that were passed to us from this weekend. You could, send one of the business ones to her and just say, hey, I watched this last night. This is a new video. And it really sums up very well, the general idea of our business and what we're about. And I thought maybe you might want to share this with your husband. How did the conversation go last night? Always end it in a question, because that's part of the conversation. If I just say, here's the video, there's no need for her to respond, and it just kind of ends it, right? But if I ask, how did the conversation go? Then she's gonna feel like, oh, okay, I need to answer this, and that keeps the conversation going. So I try to end it in a question if we're texting. Does that help?
That does. And actually, that's a perfect question. How did the conversation go? I did send her videos prior to us finally connecting on the phone. I even sent her the tax video, and I even said, hey, I would recommend you watching this tax strategy video with your husband so you can see the benefits of a home-based business and everything. But that was you nailed it. Like, that's the question I need to follow up with today. How did the conversation go with your husband? And now ask and let her do all the talking. Maybe
Right.
It's her turn. Okay.
Yeah, it's her turn. That's great. And getting out of our head just really means you can just you can go there and you can say, I bet she talked to her husband and he told her, no way, she can't do this. And I gave her too much information, and she's not even going to get signed up now. And I've totally lost a distributor, right? Like, you can spiral out of control and go with that. Or you can stop that thought process and say, I don't know, and I'm not going to make up a story. So instead, I'm going to spin it a different way, and we're going to spiral up. So you can say, she probably got distracted. Her child probably ran in with the dog covered in mud, and she had to stop them. And then last night her husband got home from work and they may not have even had the conversation. I'll just revisit with her, right? So take it away from yourself and back on just everyday life. Give a lot of grace and mercy to the people that we're talking to, and just knowing they've got busy lives too, just like we do. Sometimes I forget to answer back in a conversation. And so just bringing it back with a question can just move that forward again. But don't be hard on yourself.
Thank you. Perfect.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to add anything in?
I have a situation that I experienced, and I think even hearing your answer to that one probably helps me with mine. But we were selling looking for a house. About 2 years ago, we found a realtor, and he was excellent. And, we liked him a lot. We had a lot in common with natural health. And I kind of shared Juice Plus. I didn't push it. I didn't really follow up with it. And so when we were selling my dad's house a year later, there was a handful of people that I thought we could use to sell. And I wanted to go by the new philosophy that I learned of do business with people that do business with you. So I literally reached out to him, and I shared, and I was probably really just, I try to be tactful in general, but I said something like, I love to do business with people who want to do business with me. And he said, Shannon, I will buy every, product in the world if you let me, post your dad's house. And so I was like, this is great, and I'm like, you're hired. And, and then he I would bring it up and he would totally just kind of shut me down, not shut me down, but blow me off. That's a better way to say it. He was busy, and, and even his wife was leaving her job, and she was working with women to help them with breastfeeding. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this would be perfect. And so long story short, the 4-month process it was taking to sell my dad's house, I was getting, more and more direct as I rung the 4 months, because he kept blowing me off. And at the end, he still never got back with me. His wife was too busy transitioning. And at the end, I finally was like, listen, you said you'd do this. And he basically bought shakes, which is it's great to do everything, but in my mind, I was literally, we just you sold 2 different houses to us and for us, and you bought the least amount. And in my head, so this was my internal battle. I was because I was mad. instead of kind of being like, okay, well, this is where they're at. But I don't know, what would you do in that scenario, and how can I reframe my thinking around this?
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us, Shannon. I think letting go of expectations, right? When we walk into a conversation or a connection, we do have expectations of where we would love it to go. Like we would love for him to be a customer and his wife to be a team member, but we just don't know what's playing out in their life. And then, just using the comment of, I like to do business with people who do business with me, that should stay in our minds. Like it's just a prompt to remind us to bring in the conversation or bring it up, but it does set up an expectation that he's going to buy something, especially when he said he would. So it's more about the sell now versus what need do they have. And in his mind, that's what it is, right? Not in yours. Like, they don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, Juice Plus would be an asset to their life. But to him now, it's just a product to be bought. Sort of like if I go to a Pampered Chef event, nothing against Pampered Chef, I like their stuff. But if I'm not really needing more kitchen gadgets, I'll look through the catalog and find the $8 spatula and buy that because, okay, everybody needs another spatula, but it's not like really filling a need that I have in my kitchen. So it probably moved to that point because he just never grasped like what that really could be for him. And so maybe exploring more questions. And I don't know, it sounds like 4 months, you did a great job. For yourself, but he just couldn't see like how that fit into his life and what his need was. And so maybe just the interest wasn't there either, or maybe his wife was irritated that like, why do you keep bringing these conversations in and I don't want to buy anything else? Who knows, right? Like it could have been 1,000 things. If you really liked what the wife was doing, one thought I had was if you did a health event where you're talking with moms, you could bring her into the health event to give some breastfeeding tips or something. Mm-hmm. And then you can bring in the discussion about nutrition, but you could ask her to be sort of a guest on there if you got to know her well enough that was a possibility. But like kind of like bringing them into the circle so that they have a better understanding of the bigger picture of what you're doing. And then did they watch any videos, if they're not willing to watch videos, but you definitely walked in with some expectations. I'm going to let you sell this house and you're going to buy Juice Plus. And from what I can see, he just never saw that for himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I guess I like that whole concept of doing business with people who do business with you. Like I've heard actually somebody say that, and it worked for them. And I'm like, I don't think that I like, and even what you said, you probably keep that in your head. Like I've heard it work, but I guess I just feel too uncomfortable with it to make it work for me.
Yeah.
But I guess a good learning experience, but yeah, I think I don't think he took the time to watch the videos, even though he said he did.
Right. And it totally could have gone the other way, right, Shannon? Like it could have. He could have said the same thing. And then he watched the video and it totally made sense. And it was like his lifelong dream to find fruits and vegetables in a capsule. And you brought the solution to him. And his wife was like, thank you. That's exactly what we've been looking for. Like you really just don't know. And it may not be right now, but it may be that he circles back around and some sort of health crisis happens and that he brings you back in and comes back to you. So sometimes it's planting seeds and we want those to grow right now and sprout, but sometimes they're like an asparagus plant where you're not going to get any asparagus for 2 or 3 years from that dang thing, even though you've watered it and done all you're supposed to. So just be patient with that. Know that you planted those seeds and he may come around.
It's funny because he's coming around, but for like reviews on social media, like of how well he sold. And I'm like, okay, but watering the seed, that's helpful too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Hey, Calvin.
How are you?
Great.
I enjoy Juice Plus, and majority of the time when I pitch it to someone, they're more interested in the Tower Garden than they are the Juice Plus. So I have a lot of people that's like rather have a Tower Garden than a Juice Plus. So it kind of like take from the Juice Plus in a sense. And I really don't too much know how to deliver the pitch as far as the Tower Garden is. It just actually sells for it. It sells itself. So I'm kind of like wondering how do I go about that?
So how do you take the conversation from a Tower Garden to a Juice Plus conversation?
Yes.
So I think one of the great things is, again, asking questions, and that's awesome that you have such great positive conversations about the Tower Garden. I find it's the opposite. Like, the interest is there, but to get them to actually order and invest in the Tower Garden, that's where they kind of backtrack some. So then that's where I bring Juice Plus in, of saying, I love this tower and you can get some really great produce off of that, but that's not what has made the biggest impact in my health. It was actually these capsules, because it's fruits and vegetables in the capsule. Like, they've done all the work for you. So it could be that you bring that aspect into people that are like, maybe not so much on the Tower Garden, that they just don't see the value in it, or they don't see themselves growing it or staying with it. Then you can bring Juice Plus into that. You could also bring it in when they are excited about the Tower Garden and just say, one of the other products that this company has, because we want to help people get as many fruits and vegetables in their body as they can. We have the Tower Garden where you grow, your own veggies year round, and then also on a daily basis to be able to get that micronutrients in these capsules. It's, just a game changer. And this is concentrated fruits and vegetables. They grow for you, and then you have a chance to grow your own. And you're kind of just planting that seed with them too, right? So they may buy the Tower Garden and they're super excited about it and they love to eat salads, but their spouse won't touch a salad and doesn't like it, or their kids won't eat it. Then you can bring Juice Plus in. And Calvin, that really is going to come through really good conversations and just asking them, what is their need? Why are they interested in the Tower Garden? Because it's a cool machine. Okay. It's a cool machine that grows what? Fruits and vegetables. Okay, what's their why and their interest in the fruits and vegetables themselves? Why is getting more fruits and vegetables into your diet important to you? Whether you grow them or eat them, or, however you do that, why does that matter to them? Get to the why part of it. And then often that is going to be something like, they'll maybe describe like a disease process that their body is working through, or family history, something that they want to prevent, or they just know that they need to eat more fruits and vegetables and they don't. And so it's exploring that with them, getting to the why do they even want to grow fruits and veggies. With that information, then you can take it to the Juice Plus capsules of, I think you're going to be interested in this as well. Or exactly, that's the message I teach, that this is exactly it. We all need to be eating more fruits and veggies. It's just difficult to do that. The Tower Garden helps that. And so do these capsules. And so it's integrating it both in, but it's sort of like weaving that in again, depending on what their specific need is. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a lot about questions. The best answer is usually a question, which it's part of like making it their idea versus you telling them what to do, if that makes sense. Like when it seems like they're coming up with the answer, because they're really getting to the deeper why and their need, then it's less of us directing them and telling them what to do, and more of them discovering the solution alongside with you. It's kind of an interesting dance that we do with people that way, but that works well with guys. Karen, did you have something to add?
I do. Well, first of all, I wanted to say I love that asparagus analogy, because I just had somebody reach out to me on an email that I sent in February, and I don't send many emails, like maybe for a year now, but I met her in January of 2017. And she's like, okay, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we got to keep talking to people. But my question is, now with the Ditch the Pitch, coming from 17 years of sales where it was all about the pitch, I'm totally having to rework, over the years myself. The other day I left a Voxer message about how I was giving blood, and I don't have a lot of time. I had a bunch of time talking to the guy, but like health and stuff never came up. I was building the relationship. And then at the end is when we kind of started talking. I forget how, and all of a sudden he mentioned, gastric bypass surgery. And I went, oh my gosh, there's my in. And I said, oh my gosh, we have an event tonight. And I know, I love your thing about, I help families, simplify their nutrition. So I said that. And I said, after your surgery, you're not going to be able to get the amount of fruits and vegetables that's needed, for a grown man and your wife. And he's like, I know. He's like, we're going to be on a. And so I followed up with him. I sent them the information. And I'm not a person, thank God for Brene Brown and enough years of this, that I don't get all like worked up. But I sent him the information to the One Simple Change on Monday. I did send him like some other videos. I haven't followed up again. That was on Monday. Today's Wednesday. I wanted to give him a couple of days. And he probably is just busy. What would be your next? What would you do next if he hasn't replied to anything?
So can you see if he saw the message? Like, does it say delivered or seen or read?
So it says delivered, but I know I have the do not read thing on mine because I don't want people to know when I, always read it. So he could have that. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. So again, like you said, just assuming he's busy, and then as form the conversation as if you assume he has watched the video, but in your head, the expectation is he probably hasn't. And so I would just circle back around and say, pick one, either the event or the video that you sent, and just ask him what stood out to him with that event. You might say, hope you guys had a great weekend, whatever it was of the amount of time, and just kind of bring it back a little bit personal, and then ask him what he thought of the information, and call him by name. So mention his name and his wife's name if you know that too. And that just makes it more personal, and just start it back up again.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on real quick, and we can always circle back to this if you guys want to. But now, how do you take that conversation to moving them to actually be a customer, getting them to order? So on one hand, I've been really consistent about, if they show interest, send them a video to watch. And now I am like, the last couple of months, because that can like delay things forever, right? Karen, like, you can send the video. Did you watch the video? Did you watch the video? Did you watch the video? What stood out to you in the video? Did you watch the event? Like, that can be really annoying if you have to just keep doing that and you're not really getting anywhere. So one, on follow-up, if you're asking questions in Messenger and they're just not connecting with that, switch to a different platform, text them instead. If that's not working, just give them a call and see if they answer. The other one is to get face-to-face. So instead of just sending a video right away, I've been getting on the phone with someone, they send me a message and I say, hey, can you chat? I'd love to just go over this with you on the phone. And then that usually moves it really quickly to the point that they order, because I'm able to answer questions, ask questions, find out what their need is, offer that solution to their need, find out what products exactly, versus them just going online and finding. And I will share an example of how this I did not do this. 2 days ago, I was chatting with someone, but I was painting a fence. So I was like, looking at my phone, I was listening to some videos, and then her message popped up. So I sat down under the tree, I answered her question, kind of took a break, and then I kept painting, and I was just going back and forth. I needed to have just stopped and said, okay, Stephanie, can you get on the phone? Let's chat. Obviously, if she was chatting, she had the time right then, right? So I missed that opportunity. I should have stopped the fence painting and just got on the phone and talked with her. But we were texting back and forth over like time, as I had a chance to scoot away from the painting. So in the end, I had sent her links, and she still was not understanding the 4-month supply. And I said, you know what, we just need to chat. Let's talk on the phone. And, but I'm like covered in paint right now. I've got to finish this up. I want to get it done by tonight, but when I'm finished, let's talk. And she's a couple hours behind us. So she said, yes, I hate texting. And I was like, okay. So I missed that. So we were going to talk, and then she couldn't. And then we were going to talk yesterday. I forgot to send her the message. Now we're 3 days later. That is ridiculous. Like, I should have just gotten on the phone with her and moved that conversation forward. So that's part of it. You can get really hung up and like wanting to stay in texting because that feels safe, but that does prolong the conversations. Get on the phone. Just ask them, hey, do you have a couple minutes to chat? Just get on the phone with them, or meet face to face, go to coffee, have them over to your house for coffee, like get in front of people. Zoom if you can, but that opens up a lot of, I can't get the link to work, whatever. So just get on the phone or get face to face with them. And then it's just a series of exposures sometimes with people, but if you can shorten that, then in that conversation, I can really figure out, like, I can introduce the omegas because I've collected information from them through that conversation, talking in short bursts myself and asking them more questions. I can, they may mention they struggle with anxiety. I don't jump right in there and tell them about the omegas, right? Like, okay, I'm banking that. I write that down. I'm just taking in information, and I'll say, just tell me some of what your health struggles are. What are some of your issues? A lot of times, guys, as you write it down, it's so clear, it's so evident. It's gut issues. Like, all of this goes back to gut issues, and you can bring that and swing that back in where you start talking about gut health. And then, then I say, okay, this is what I would recommend that you take. So if you're not comfortable doing that, then bring your upline, your sponsor, into those types of conversations. But if you're asking questions, you find what that need is, to where when you're offering that customer that product, it just makes sense to them, and they've already made that connection as well. And so then let's just get you started and ask for the sell. Like, that's what we mean by that. Like, okay, let's get you going. At the end of the month, you can circle back to those people you've talked with and you say, hey, I'm placing some orders today and tomorrow. I'd love to help you get yours in. They don't know you can place their order any time of the month, but sometimes that jogs them to where they're like, oh yeah, I was wanting to do that. I want to get that order in. So you can do that. You can even do that like on a Thursday and say, I'm placing some orders for this week. Do you want to get yours in there? But just overcoming objections that they have it's not going to be as hard if you're letting them do the talking mostly, and they're telling you what their need is, and you bring Juice Plus as the solution, versus you presenting Juice Plus and then they have to find a way to weave their story in and what their need is. So we got to flip that, and that's really through good conversations. Those objections are sort of overcome through that conversation, because they are even kind of coming up with those solutions, versus you presenting and then they have objections, and then you present to overcome the objection, and then they come up with another objection and you present to overcome that objection. But if it's more they're talking most of the time, they're already bringing those objections in through the conversation, and then you just interject Juice Plus in there or your story. So it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but yeah, it really is what we've been taught all along. And it's just that skill set of learning that, but just you're offering to help them get started. So the same thing, you just repeat until they're ready to order. And sometimes you just have to like back off and let go, and then they'll come back around. As long as you're consistently being, on Facebook and like they see you, then you're not going to be forgotten. This girl, Stephanie, I was telling you about, was from a group and connection we had from way back in Alabama 7-8 years ago. And we've stayed friends. Like on Facebook, I comment on some of the things she's doing, but she brought it back in because her daughter has a need now. Right. So she remembered that I was into nutrition. And so she reached out to me. So I could have just taken it for her daughter, right, and just gotten the information for her daughter. But I started asking her questions for herself. And she said, well, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and so it's really not something that I'm interested in. And I said, I'm so glad you eat fruits and veggies. I know that's always been something important to you. How do you do that? What does that look like on a daily basis for you? I just started asking her some of those questions too. And then I said, okay, just remember that Lydia's Juice Plus is free with your order. So if it is something you want to add at some time, we can add her back into yours, or you can order and we can connect your orders, and hers are free. So then we kept chatting, and then she says, okay, so if I order, what is the price for me and Lydia? So she took herself there, and I could have just dropped it and only talked about Lydia, right? So you got to ask for that order. You got to ask for that sale, direct them. They don't know. Do they go online and order off of Amazon? Like, where do they get it? Direct them of the next step you want them to go in. But it's mostly like, hey, let me help you get started.